Welcome to part 23, module 1, computer networks. So we were discussing the ISO OSI reference model, and we already covered the layer 1 and layer 2, that is physical and data link layer, and now we move on to our attention to network layer and transport layer, the layer 3 and layer 4. So the network layer controls the operation of the subnet over which the information is being communicated. The subnet is a part of the network that is being used by a particular communication. Now the key design issues is determining how packets are routed from source to destination. That means through the subnet how the routing of the information will happen. So routes can be based on some static table that are wired into the network and rarely changed, or more often they can be updated automatically to avoid failed components. So two ways we can manage the routers. Either it could be kept as a static table, so for a particular network, by looking at its design you can come up with a routing table and you can permanently deploy it, and of all communication will be depending on this static table. But on the way, after once you start your communication, some of the components may failed, some intermediate nodes may be failed, or some cable connecting two major routers may get failed, so that you should take the alternative path, right? So accordingly the updation should happen automatically, so that will be a more reliable routing methodology. And now they can also be determined at the start of each conversation. For example, the terminal session, such as log into a remote machine. So when you try to log into a remote machine, say using this terminal protocol something, now once you start trying to log in, that time itself you can create a path, and for rest of the communication you can simply depend on that path. So again, some kind of static decision making you are using, and from that point to a highly dynamic routing we can think of. Highly dynamic in the sense being determined a new for each packet to reflect the current network load. In the sense dynamic here, in the sense by looking at the current network load, the decision making changes. But in case of static decision making, during the initial phase of your communication, at the start of each conversation you will determine a path, and blindly further communication will follow that path, even though there is high load, network load in that path. But when it comes to dynamic decision making, it will consider the current network load, and accordingly it will alternate the path. Relatively a particular path with less load will be selected for communication if the current path is overloaded. Okay, so in means always we prefer dynamic decision making and dynamic routing table over the static concept, obviously, right? So dynamically, in the sense dynamically the network failure as well as the network load should be considered by a good routing decision making process, and more factors can also be considered. Now another thing that the network layer is dealing with the congestion control. In the sense, if too many packets present in the subnet at the same time, they will get in on another's way, and it will disturb each other or lead to collisions and all, and forming a kind of network bottleneck. And handling the congestion that result into the so-called bottleneck is also a responsibility of network layer, in conjunction with the higher layer that adapt the load they place on the network. So the network layer of course has to communicate with the higher layers, whenever there is, because higher layers are actually generating the load, right? So whenever there is congestion, there should be some way of informing the application layer of different machines that you stop sending data to the lower layers, because the network is under congestion right now. So such communication should also be there. Now for congestion management, most the network layer is normally responsible for congestion control, but in TCP we have a protocol where it is implementing both flow control and congestion control using a particular technique, and that is also means if you want you can implement in the higher layers also. But when you are looking at ISO OSI reference model, as per the model, it is given to be the primary responsibility of the middle, not middle layer, the third layer, that is the network layer. Then another responsibility, like I already mentioned, the quality of service, which is an optional functionality for real-time communication. It is also being provided by the network layer, so it can be thought of as a network layer issue, and we can work on it, like delay, transit time, jitter, etc. These things were taken care by this QoS service. Now, other than this, the issues like addressing, how to handle a large size packet like fragmentation and reassembly, that kind of things, the how to handle different types of protocol, or in general how it can deal with a heterogeneous network. So when a packet has to travel from one network to another to get to its destination, many problems can arise. So on other than the congestion control routing and QoS, which are found to be the core functionality, in addition to that, there could be a number of issues like the addressing used by the second network may be different from that of the first one. So how these different addressing or is handled, or the second one may not accept the packet at all because it is of large size, that second network may be able to handle a less size packet. The protocol used by the other network may be different. So here they are talking about the heterogeneity management. So it is up to the network layer to overcome all these problems to allow heterogeneous networks to be interconnected, irrespective of the addressing method used, the size of maximum packets that a particular network can handle, the protocol used, the differences in the protocol used, all those heterogeneous things should be handled by the network layer. Then something that you can keep in means some important notes from the network layer. So you can see that here the protocol data unit is called the packet, network layer protocol data unit, and I already told you this packet is a general terminology also, but more specifically the network layer protocol data unit is given the name packets. And if you are looking at the network layer devices, you can think of layer 3 switches. The switch itself, we can think of layer 2 switch and layer 3 switches. When it comes to layer 3 switches, there is nothing but the one who can take care of this routing also, that is who can run the routing algorithm. It could be otherwise called the router. And when you look at layer 2 switch purely, it is not having that routing algorithm running, but it will do the forwarding of data in a more intelligent way than the hub, which is the layer 1 device. So network layer protocols were like this, and these things again you will see in your subsequent modules. The core protocol of network layer is nothing but the internet protocol, IP, and we have IP version 4 and version 6, and again we will see this protocol in our further discussion. And another important network layer protocol is the internet control message protocol, ICMP protocol. If there is congestion, the reporting of congestion, and many other some maybe some network failure happened, and that will be informed. So like that, it will take care of all internet control kind of things. So we call it as internet control message protocol. In this ICMP source conj packet is one kind of ICMP packet that will report the congestion. Then simply to check the connectivity, you all will be familiar with the ping packets, right? Packet internet gopher, PING, and that is a special ICMP command. And ICMP timestamp information, like that many variations are there for this ICMP, that also we may see in the subsequent discussion. Then internet group management protocol, IGMB. So this is for creating something called a group concept, a multicasting group. And dynamic host configuration protocol. So this is something you all may be familiar when you start running your system. This may be automatically loaded, or when you try to connect to an internet service provider, on the background this DHCP protocol is running, and it will configure your PC or laptop, in such a way that it can part of the network communication. And of course routing is the, and out of all algorithms that we will see, like error control, error detection algorithms, flow control algorithm, and in this congestion management algorithm, and all this routing algorithm is something complex, and it is to be run and dynamically updated 24/7, right? So as it is doing complex decision making in a routing algorithm, the normally this network layer is known to be the complex layer among all of them, because of the most complex algorithm, that is a routing algorithm used in this particular layer. And we have standard routing algorithms like routing information protocol RIP, open system shortest path first OSPF, intermediate system IS, like that. Many external, BGPs there, border gateway protocol, many routing protocols will also be part of the network layer. Now network layer functions, I am just pointing down only these things we already seen, and we especially in the previous slide. Routing, the logical addressing of course, IP addressing, the congestion control, the splitting of the data, right, the fragmentation and reassembly back, and quality of service. And this is something you can keep in your mind as a point. Like in broadcast network, the routing problem is simple. So network layer is often thin or very or even non-existent. Okay, so why so? Because broadcast network, in the sense you are just broadcasting your information, you are not doing any routing, right? Broadcasting in the sense, what you are having, simply you are sending to all your neighbors, and whoever want it will take it, others will simply ignore it. So that kind of a concept. So when it comes to any local area network, inside the local area network actually we are doing broadcasting, but over the internet we will be doing routing. But once it reaches a specific local area network, the local area network of the destination, inside that it will do broadcasting, and the data will be reached at the destination machine. And in that time you don't have to run any routing algorithm, or as you know, the main core activity of network layer is routing only. So when it comes to a pure broadcast network, as there is no routing, you can see that the network layer is almost very thin, or it may not exist. So that about the network layer. Then the next one, that is layer 4, that is transport layer. It provides services to the application layer, that is a layer above it. Actually when it comes to ISO OSI 7 layer architecture, above transfer layer we have session layer. But as I already told you, this session and presentation layer were normally part of this application layer. So simply you can say that application layer, in the sense the session, presentation of those things are part of application layer. Otherwise, specifically you can say that it provides services to the layer above it, that is session layer, and takes services from the lower layer, that is network layer. And what it will be doing, the main thing, it will divide the information that is being given to it by the application layer. From application layer, what we are getting is the whole message as a whole without any division of it, and transfer layer onwards, and message get divided into smaller units that layer can handle at any time, and we call it as a segments. So the data in the transport layer is referred as data, in the sense the protocol data unit. The unit of communication in transport layer is known to be segments. So it is responsible for the end-to-end delivery of the complete message. Like we already seen, this is where the end-to-end communication or the process-to-process delivery of information happens. The transport layer can also provide the acknowledgement of the successful data transmission and retransmits the data if an error is found. So this is something, whenever it is received by the receiver, it will send back an acknowledgement. So if there is no acknowledgement, that means the data get lost on the way, so that the sender can retransmit it. So this will add reliability into your communication. But remember, so we have two types of service in transport layer, the connection oriented and connectionless, and this kind of a reliable communication based on acknowledgement and retransmission is provided by connection oriented service only. Such a reliability is not there in connectionless service. But in general, you can say that transfer layer, such a facility is there, but if you want, you can use it. Otherwise, you can go with the unreliable variation of transfer layer also. So at the sender side, as we already seen, the transfer layer receives the formatted data from the upper layer. the session layer, and it performs the splitting of it, that is the performs segmentation. It will divide the message into different segments and also implements the flow and error control to ensure proper data transmission. So the end to end flow control, but when it comes to data link layer, it is hop to hop flow control and error control, but here it is end to end flow control and error control, and all in the sense this is something happening with the help of the receiver also. At the receiver side actually the verification is happening, but for error control, particularly error detection, some redundancy should be added into the original message, right? Like if you are using CRC, some CRC reminder you will calculate at the sender side and you will append at the end of the message. And similarly in transport layer, normally we are using, like CRC, we are using the concept of checksum for error control, where you from the information you will generate that redundant bits, we call it as a checksum, and that will be appended to the message. And we will see how this checksum is calculated maybe when we discuss the transport layer in more detail. Similarly, flow control, we have a specific algorithm for this transport layer. If time allows, we will discuss that. Now it also adds the source and destination port number, because port number is the addressing used by this layer, right? In its header and forward the segmented data. Generally the destination port number is configured either by default or manually, in the sense some of the applications are having some default port number, like HTTP. If you are looking at a web application using the HTTP protocol, this port number 80 is by default assigned to such application, so it will assume by default. But certain application which are not well known, manual assignment of the port number will be given. So many applications have a port default port assigned to it. We call them as well-known ports or the well-known applications. And we will see more into this well-known ports and other concept about port number in our subsequent discussion. Now at the receiver side, by looking at the port number, it will be correctly delivered to the receiving process, and all the things will be done reverse here, like error checksum generated at the sender side, and verification of the checksum will happen at the receiver side. Similarly the flow, whether it is okay. So transfer layer reads the port number from its header and forward the data to the respective application process particularly. So it also performs the sequencing and reassembly of the segmented data. Like at the sender side the segmentation happened, now at the receiver side the segmented data has to be reassembled and delivered to the higher layer, that is the application layer of the receiver side. So that reassembly, for that the data should be sequenced, right, one after another. The first one should be placed followed by second one, so sequence number is something that we are depending for that, and the sequenced reassembled data will be given to the higher layer. So that about the overall things happen. Now as I already mentioned, there are two types of services provided by the transport layer: the connection oriented service and the connection less service. So as this is I think this also we seen already, particularly for transport layer, connection oriented service, in the sense there will be three phase process involved, like there will be a connection establishment phase, and there is a data transfer phase, and termination or a disconnection phase. So initially, before starting your data transfer, you will establish a connection, and once the connection established, using that connection, the data transfer, connection establishment in the sense on the way the resources will be reserved for your communication. So it is nothing but the resource reservation, and after this data transfer, after the successful completion of your communication, what you will do, you will terminate the connection, in the sense you will free up all the resources reserved for your communication. So in this type of communication or transmission, the receiving device sends that acknowledgement concept is here only, like I already told you. So that makes the communication reliable and secure. So if there is no acknowledgement, retransmission will be there. So the acknowledgement back to the source after a packet or a group of packet is received. Accordingly, we have independent acknowledgement and cumulative acknowledgement. Independently, you can send the acknowledgement back for each and every packet, or cumulatively for a set of packets or a group of packets, you can send a single acknowledgement. So whatever it is, some kind of acknowledgement concept is there, and the sender will be running a timeout timer, and it will wait for an acknowledgement till the timer expires, and the timer expires and no acknowledgement, it will assume that the data lost or acknowledgement lost, that we don't know. Whatever it is, otherwise it will retransmit the data, and that will ensure the reliability and security of your communication. Reliability, mainly security, the real security you have to depend on the higher layer, presentation layer actually, for encryption and all. Here security in the sense the reliable communication, and data will no one can force your communication in means attack your communication in such a way that simply may the means the data is going through a different route, or some way data get lost. That kind of issue is not there, because even though the data lost, it will be retransmitted by the acknowledgement and retransmission timer concept. And connectionless service means there is only one phase, that is a data transfer phase. That means there is no explicit connection establishment or connection termination. So in this type of transmission, the receiver does not acknowledge the receipt of a packet. There is no acknowledgement concept, there is no retransmission, and accordingly there is no reliability. But all those things will save time, and it will result into faster communication between the devices, because you don't have to spend time for connection establishment, connection termination, acknowledgement, retransition, nothing, right? So overall time of communication will be very less compared to connection oriented service. But if you are looking at reliability, of course connection oriented service is more reliable than connectionless service. That is the problem here. Now some points to remember. The data in the transport layer is called the segments, that is the transfer layer protocol data unit or segments. The transfer layer is called the heart of OSI model in the sense, and means it is coming first of all as a middle layer, and also it is thick layer, and it's why thick in the sense it's packed with the maximum number of functionalities. And the transfer layer protocols, okay, I missed out the word. The transfer layer major protocols are the transmission control protocol TCP and user datagram protocol. We will see more into these two protocols here. Let me tell you one thing, that we already seen the connection oriented service, right? TCP is providing connection oriented reliable service, where UDP is providing connectionless, faster and reliable service. Yeah. So now if you look at the transfer layer functionality, I told you, like compared to all other layer, the one who is doing maximum number of functionalities actually transfer layer. So we call it as a thick layer even. So it provides the end to end or the process to process communication, and in the sense the end to end flow control, error control, congestion control, all those things it will provide end to end. Congestion control mainly network layer activity only, but if you are using TCP, it is having some facility to do congestion control at the transfer layer also. Then segmentation and reassembly, the service point addressing or port addressing. Port address is otherwise called the service point address, because it is locating your service, right? HTTP or SMTP service is uniquely identified by this port address. Ordering by means of sequence number, if it is there. Reliable communication, again for connection oriented TCP kind of communication, which is reliable, but still we have unreliable variation. And end to end flow control, error control, etc. So that about the network layer and transport layer. Now in this next session, we will next part of the video lecture, we will see the subsequent layers. Thank you.